Shirt Show. All right, let's go.
Shirt Show! Talking shirt! Shirt Show! Talking shirt! Shirt Show! Talking shirt! Shirt Show! Shirt, man!
All right! Episode 145 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Tyler from Black Rifle Coffee Company in Utah. Let's go!
Hey there, you handsome devil.
Hey there, you handsome angel. You like that?
Yeah, thanks. What's going on? What's going on today? Harvey. Yeah. So what's up? What's going on? You look great. You're standing.
Yeah, and so, this is not the right way to stand, by the way. Arms in front? Nope. Arms like this.
Behind you?
Yeah.
You know what's weird is like when I visit places or I'm walking around, that's how I walk.
With your arms behind, like locked.
Yeah,
your
like I
fingers
put my
locked in.
hands behind me and I like hold my fingers.
Kind of like you're cuffed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just want to be prepared for that situation.
Well, that's what that does is it just opens up your chest. It forces you to have better posture, because I kind of do this, and
Hunch over.
yeah, it's not good. So I need to,
Mhm.
what this does is it puts you in a good spot
Nice.
for back success.
You're learning all of these back success tips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Andy's back pain management. We should have a
Top 10.
every episode.
Mhm.
You know what I was doing recently that I wanted to ask you if you do? Do you trust your backup cam in your car?
Yeah. I just look at that sometimes.
So like you'll look at it and then just whatever happens. You'll just back the fuck up.
No, I look at my mirrors.
See, but why?
Because if you ever tried backing out at some store like Target or whatever, and then some guy's going like 30 miles an hour down an aisle,
Yeah.
like if you don't look to see if that guy's coming, the camera is not going to catch it in your periphery.
True. But your camera, like my car alerts me, I'll beep. It'll go beep, beep,
Well,
beep.
we
or
don't
whatever.
all have fucking smart cars that drive themselves.
Yeah. Well, you do.
No.
And so, yeah.
I have the bare bones model.
My
I
car
don't even
doesn't
have heated seats.
My car does not drive itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're talking about, but it does alert you to if somebody's even walking, like if you're backing up, which I think is great, But my question was just like, because I was trying to decide, because my whole life I haven't ever used a backup camera, until recently.
Yeah.
And how do you then trust? Because my instinct is to look over and to look back, just like you said, and to use mirrors and stuff.
The only thing I like it for is for parallel parking.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, because most of my vehicles have always been SUVs. So like getting into a tight spot in the city, you're always kind of like, how close am I to backing into this? You know what else it's fucking amazing for is with the hitch and backing up to a trailer.
Oh, yeah.
You can literally line it up perfectly to the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
It is pretty sweet, but I was just curious how you've adapted, because I noticed I was doing pretty good, for a boomer. I was called a boomer the other day, which I'm not, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Just for my views on, I don't know if you saw it. I said something about, what was the argument?
Was it the argument in the Mild Boys chat where you said it must just be me? Because everyone will go through and say like their feelings on a topic or their thing, and Andy always chimes in last with like, well, actually, it's the complete opposite of what all of you feel.
I want to be the devil's advocate. Sure, fine. It's I think I said something like I guess I'm the weird one. That's what I said. And then I said my opinion, but what the fuck were we talking about? It was
the Ecotex.
Oh, the cost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
everyone else was like, there's no way it costs whatever it is, like 150 or whatever K for a machine. And we're all talking about, like practicality and like all this other stuff. And Andy chimes in at the end. He's like, actually, I wish it cost more because,
Yeah, and then I think it was Steve.
But not even saying it to like be an asshole. You had a point where you were like, hey, like this changes hands 3 times, and it's, you know, it's got all this smart capabilities, and it's got a, you know, it's not just pressure washers in a metal box is what we were all calling it.
Exactly. And so I was just kind of, you know, in my opinion, some of our equipment is really cheap. Or I shouldn't say cheap. That's not, maybe just not as expensive, or it could cost way more, you know, because you're talking about a press that they somehow, an automatic press that they somehow make a pretty big one, lots of colors for 100K. And you're going to make 500 times that. No, that's way, way off.
The difficult part of that argument is that in reality, the materials and the labor and like them making a profit and everything, they're still making a ton of money on a press that's they sell for 150K.
No.
Well, say in reality, okay, let's just say they're whatever. It cost them 75K to put together, and then they make 75K on a 150K machine.
No, I'm not going to say that. That's too presumptuous. For one thing, I would say that most businesses
those are obviously made up numbers.
They operate under maybe 10 to 20% margins, maybe.
Okay.
Sure. And so I don't know that they make all that much money on it, honestly. And I think that, you know, and I think that we spend too much time focusing on saving 5K on a press, and we should spend more time on just what that press makes you over. No, your lifetime.
I agree with you that, you know, whatever the cost is, it's going to make us way more money regardless.
Yeah, so don't sweat over a little bit. You know,
I mean, you should sweat a little bit, because then you're getting taken advantage of to a degree.
Of course, you should do your due diligence, and you should try and get the best deal possible. But man, don't spend too much time on that. Just buy the fucking thing.
Well, what we were saying is that we're talking about this thing, and you come in, you're like, no, I'd actually rather spend 20% more because it's going to make me X amount of dollars. And it's like, okay, boomer.
Yeah. So anyway,
you made a good point. You legit made a good point in the argument of like, hey, think about it from this perspective.
That's right. Because, you know, when here we are as screen printers, and we have customers come in and they're like, hey, you know, why is it so fucking much? You know, it's just a t-shirt and some ink. But well, that's what we charge, you know, and it should be that way. Right. And if the customer doesn't want to pay it, then maybe that's not your customer. Well, and if you're charging, my other point was, if you're charging too much, then nobody's going to buy your shit, and then you'll have to lower your prices to meet the competition. The market ultimately decides if that machine costs too much, or if your shirt costs too much. The market is the decider.
It's the same argument too. Like, we could say we're going to charge the customer $10 for a t-shirt, and they're like, oh, it doesn't cost you $10 to make that t-shirt, but they can turn around and sell that t-shirt for $30.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're making $20 on it. And it's like,
so
what's the fucking argument?
Just buy the shirt and move on.
Make $20.
Yeah. You're making more than we do.
Right. Exactly.
Or are they? Because they have their costs too. Point is that that's the first time I've been called a boomer to my face.
Who called you a boomer?
I was going to throw a bows. It was Steven.
Yeah, it would be Steven.
It would be. Yeah. So how are things? How are things in New York?
Pretty good. Less pippage, which is nice. We were just having a discussion in the office. I'm seeing a lot more quotes going out. I got some custom made fans in for the press today, for both dryers. Sorry. Did
you order it from OnlyFans?
Yes, I did.
Cool.
Yeah, it shows me its tits every so often.
Those sound good to me.
Yeah, they're from Vastex. Yeah. You know, it's like, what are they called? I don't know. They're like those little computer fans, but they have them in like a line on like a metal bracket. They mount to the end of your dryer so that they'll cool shit down as they come off the dryer. I got some of those. I got one for the 3000 and one for the Fusion.
Why not just have a box fan or some other sort of fans? Why is this better?
I don't know. It's just more compact and streamlined and meant for this, and it mounts to the fucking press, and it's not like I put some PVC pipe up and zip ties and threw a box fan on top of it, and it looks like hell, and
it looks pro.
It's jalopy. It's like actually made for this.
So how do you decide when to do DIY versus buy it like you just did? What's the deciding factor?
I don't know. I feel like I don't want to. I feel like the true answer for me is I don't want to fuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to look good. I want it to function good. I want to not have to mess with it. And I want the people who have to run it every day not have to think about it, not have to mess with it. So I want them to go over and hit a switch and the fans turn on and they're directional and they're, thought out and they're the correct height off the dryer. And
here's the thing. I love the ingenuity and the genius and the hustle behind designing your own DIY stuff. It's kind of neat, but that's I guess, versus buying something new and ready and it just works. Mm-hmm. When you put those together and you contrast them, sometimes it's just better to buy it already done, because you think
the thing about these too is they were kind of custom. Like they're not meant for this dryer. Mm-hmm. Like I had to give them dimensions and they made brackets and like all this other stuff, but it's like,
right. And so what's your motivating factor behind the DIY? Is it to save money? Because I don't know that you always do. Because you just mentioned a bunch of things like why you bought it instead of DIY'd it, because you wanted it to just work. You wanted it to look good. You wanted it to just flip a switch and it goes and all those sort of things. That's time saving over a long period of time. Right. And so maybe, how long would it have taken you to build that thing? You have to calculate all those hours and all that time.
Well, the other part of it is like the people who sell this thing have done their R&D already. And it's like, for me, I could have gone and got a Walmart box fan and thrown it up there and then found out that it's actually too big of a fan and it's actually drafting into the dryer. And then I'm having curing issues and all these other things. And it's like, no, these are smaller, directional, specifically, meant for this process. So I just don't want to fuck. I just at the point where I just don't want to fuck with it. I want to buy it and I want it to work the first time. I don't want to have to R&D it for 6 months.
Right. I think that comes with 1, age, 2, just past experience, like doing it wrong. Like I've done things in the past where our toilet broke here, one of the toilets, and I went to fucking Home Depot, bought the shit to fix it. And then actually somebody else started to work on it because I got pulled away. And then they broke the fucking ceramic, water holder thingy, whatever it's called, tank. And then we had to buy a whole new fucking toilet.
Should have just bought a new toilet to begin with.
Yeah, or just hired somebody to come out here and fix it. It would have been less. You know what I mean? So you win some, you lose some. I don't know what the moral of all that.
The moral of the story is that if Scott was here from King Screen, he would slap me for.
He would kick me right in the balls, and rightfully so, probably.
Yeah.
I love you, Scott.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I mean, it's been pretty good. We just been turning and burning.
Dylan, it all starts with a screen, and whether it is new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com. And also there was a post today we were tagged in that said, Shirt Show made me do it, where they bought Frank screens.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I posted. Did you see my post?
I did.
Mm-hmm. You like it?
The dick knobs.
Yeah, I was just digging through some photos and trying to find one of us that kind of made sense for that post.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey guys, we appreciate you. It'd be really neato if you. What I ask? I said something.
Give us a review.
Hit
the like button, subscribe, tell your friends about our show. If you're listening to us right now, please just stop and do that for us. That would be wonderful. Also, too, I had a note in here of a sweet comment on our YouTube probably my favorite so far.
What is it?
The best part about this for me was the dude's name.
Mm-hmm.
His name on YouTube is Stack Crusher Guru Industry Vet.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, you can't be cockier than that.
Yeah, he crushes stacks.
Right.
Stacks.
Yeah, and he's an industry vet.
Yeah. What is
but
the,
anyway,
I remember
his comment was dishwater is more interesting than this.
Mm-hmm. And what did I reply back?
Interesting.
I said, that's interesting. That stuff's fun. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever
Thanks,
comment you want to leave it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Tell us how you really feel.
Mm-hmm. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
If you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Or Nick or Lucas.
At Graphics Source and make them your source for production-ready digital art.
Yes.
Great dudes, great service, great sauce.
Right.
Yeah.
Even better sauce.
Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids or contact him on IG. You know what that stands for?
Instagram.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I think it's the Emulsion Guru.
Yes.
And get the answers you need. They also have other things, like lasers.
Mm-hmm. Because they're all mixed with Saudi now.
Mm-hmm. So if you need a laser, call Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, look, if your shop is like ours and you're running more and more DTF screen print transfers, then you need a partner that can get you quality transfers fast. And that's Howard Custom Transfers. They have 20 plus years of experience. They offer same-day service for single color transfers, and they are great people.
Yes, by far.
Go check out.
That's what we go for.
That's what we go for.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing we go for.
Yeah, the people.
Go check out Howard Custom Transfer at howardct.com and order a free sample pack. See for yourself.
Yeah, honestly, you don't have to take our word for it. Just go get a sample pack, try it out. If you like it, cool. If not, then we're idiots. But I know you're going to like it, so
yeah.
So hopefully we're not idiots. It's awesome shit.
Hopefully not.
Who we talking to today, bud?
Today we are chatting with Tyler Adams from Black Rifle in Utah.
Of all the places I've traveled, Utah is my favorite.
Just because of its beauty.
Just so fucking beautiful there. It's awesome. The people, super nice. The scenery, super nice. The hikes were amazing.
Let's move there.
I would move there.
Let's get a place.
Mm-hmm. Look at this handsome guy. What's happening?
Just scrambling. I had to hurry and make sure this other office was open so I could talk to you guys, and you don't hear the turn on my compressor every 10 minutes going off.
In the office, huh?
Yeah.
Can you pull that mic away from your mouth a little bit?
Yep.
I can hear you breathing.
Oh, I thought that was good.
Pretty sexy.
I mean, I like it. I mean, but the problem is we're going to have too many guests that are too overheated by hearing your breath that, we might get complaints.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that better?
Tyler, I almost wore that same flannel. We could have been Twinkies.
Oh, man.
Twinkies?
See?
That has different meanings.
Okay. Well, all of the meetings. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
How's it going there? You don't have the same necessarily ebbs and flows of business as we do with slow season. Are you guys cranking?
Yeah, we don't really have a slow season anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, last couple of years, everybody goes on holiday, and then it's like, okay, we'll see you when we get back, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys still busting at the seams?
Yeah, but it's definitely a lot more guided.
Mm-hmm.
So we've adjusted the way that we forecast, and as the company continues to grow, that just gets more and more refined. And so we're able to schedule the workload a lot more effectively right now. So yeah, I'm not here quite as many hours.
So Dylan, he's been there. I think you did a shop tour there. What was it, last year or something? A couple times. I've never been there. And what we've been doing recently, for context, is sort of sharing some details, like how many presses, how many is on your team and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your shop like?
Right now, we've got 2 autos, and the one's a 14 head, and the other is a 6 head, both Sportsman. And then on the 14 head, we've got one of Ron's tag bots hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the one dryer in between those. And then the biggest upgrades recently was getting the Unicoat and an iMimage. So those things have been outstanding for us.
You bought those at the same time?
Yeah.
Did you guys fully get rid of the Rapid Tag because now you have the tag bot, or are you doing both?
No, yeah, we do both, because especially on some of the more bulky garments, the tag bot, it's a little
harder
more
to pull through the machine.
Yeah, but t-shirts, holy cow, all day long, they'll just fly through.
That makes so much sense for you, because you're the same label every time. You're not switching from brand to brand, I guess, right?
Literally every time I bring the tag bot up, I bring you up, because I'm like, it's perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. If you're not changing out that label consistently for whoever you're selling it to.
Now, for you guys, are you doing the full everything with the tag, like size wise, or are you just putting the Black Rifle logo in?
No, it's the full tag with the care instructions and everything.
Okay. So I didn't know if you were removing the other label or you were just putting the logo, because then you would still have to change it out for the screen for the sizes, or shift it side to side or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, but that's made it really nice, because the thing's laser guided. So you just set up your screen with a few tags consecutive, and it's maybe 20 seconds to walk over, slide it, lock it back, and start running again.
So for those listening that don't know, there's this thing called the tag bot, which basically is an attachment that goes on your press that will print the neck label along with the front print of the shirt. Is that one independent? Like, are you using that print head for other colors still? And then there's it's its own head, right?
Yeah. You modify the head, and that's where it just lives. So you really got to settle it in where you're not going to be trying to move it later.
Right. And then it's got like an automatic like robot unloader that unloads the tag from the pallet so you don't annihilate your fingers. Yeah.
That part's super weird to get used to, but it's really smooth.
I guess the strategy behind it, though, is that, you're already loading the shirt to print the front.
Mm-hmm.
And so why print the fronts and then load it on, like you said earlier, a different press again, all over again. So it's just way more efficient for somebody like you, that's doing tags all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Cuts it down by at least a third, most of the jobs that we do.
So I guess I could say that the unique part about you is that, or for Black Rifle, is that you're not printing for customers, you're printing for you. Like, you're literally printing just your own merch all day long.
Yep.
How did that come about? I mean, we can get into the whole Black Rifle story or whatever, but like, how did Evan and them decide that we should start a print shop instead of outsourcing it to somebody else?
So that part, it's actually pretty cool, because Evan and the guys that run Black Rifle, they've got one concern and one focus, that is, how can they more effectively give back to the communities that they worked so hard in and now are away from, like military law enforcement, because there's still guys doing that stuff, and it's a gnarly job. So we really try to give back as much as we can. And so when I started working here in 2017, it was still outsourced. And of course, we were way smaller. And Evan just said, why don't we do this stuff on our own? It takes the logistical aspect out and we can control the margins 100%. So we had Caleb Leftwich. You guys met him. He's over in the art department. And he came on as the master screen printer at that point and helped us get all the equipment put in place.
So he was a printer beforehand.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But it was a little bit of adjustment because you had us that weren't printers installing equipment that we know what it's supposed to do, but haven't actually done it. So it was a pretty steep learning curve right off the bat. And then we've just been able to refine it more and more. So we did have a good timeline there where things were still being outsourced to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
the bulk of it.
Yeah. And then the more capable we got, the more we pulled it back until we're solely just our own thing, which really was only like 6 weeks.
What were you guys starting with equipment wise? Like, did you kind of go all in a little bit? Like you went with an auto and a dryer, or did you get like a manual or anything like that?
Yeah, we went all in, went with one of the local reps here and just picked up whatever used equipment they had readily available. So we had a couple of Diamondbacks and this Gauntlet from 1984. They were all 6 heads. And that Gauntlet was a beast. It ran and ran and ran. So I only got rid of that just last year. But the Diamondbacks, they were already kind of hobbling and struggling. So we had those 3. We had 2 dryers, the one M&R, and then one other, I always forget the name of it, Carolina or something. This brown thing. And then one manual press that we had around that wasn't super great because it only had the one station. But, did what we could with it. And
yeah.
The Rapid Tag, though, that was our newest shiny piece of equipment back then.
So you bought that brand new?
Yeah.
Because you knew branding wise in the beginning, you wanted to do that. Like, I mean, it's basically, it's always retail ready. Like you guys are making it for the coffee shops.
Yeah.
Or online orders.
Yep. And if we do sell it at other retailers, we want people to know that it's strictly Black Rifle still.
Right.
So you're pre-printing orders, I'm assuming, and stocking them somewhere and then fulfilling. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So we've got a 3PL that we utilize and we watch the inventory levels there. And then based on the forecast and the sales teams, we just keep adjusting those for what the demand is.
Is a 3PL local, like where you are?
No. We've got one center over on the East Coast and then one smaller one over here on the West. So Utah is kind of the unique spot. We just kick it out both ways.
Yeah. Are you finding out that, are you selling more directly from you or more from other places? Don't you guys have stuff with like, was it Bass Pro or something like that where stuff's being sold?
Yep. We're in Bass Pro. We're in Academy Sports. That's what I was saying. Retailers come on and partner with us and we adjust to what it is they're looking for.
Right.
So right now, as we're building out these retail stores, it is kind of a interesting shift where we started out solely e-com and just built that. And now we're at that turning point where the outside sales are going up above our e-com sales. And it's pretty cool to watch because it means our retail stores, there's more and more coming online, and we get to go on road trips and see our own shops and be like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Are you talking about just merch or coffee too, like on these retail stores?
It's just merch. The coffee side, I don't know as much about because I don't get involved in the production of that.
But your store that's opening is a coffee shop that's selling the merch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what Andy's trying to get at is, they're opening more and more coffee shops. And then the front of the coffee shop has like all the Black Rifle merch and all that stuff available.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So I guess let's go back because we're kind of skipping around a little bit. Like, what's your story, Tyler? What was your military story? You got out of there and then you ended up at Black Rifle.
Oh, man. So the military story, I went in, I really wanted to do the full 20-year career and then retired. But I went in a little bit later. So I was one of the older guys at 24, which sounds stupid. But it was just something that I always wanted to do. So 2005 is when I went in. And I was a medic. So ran around with the 4th Infantry Division. I ended up staying with them for the 8 years that I was in. So I love those guys. But my first deployment, it turned out to be a pretty rough one. So here's a tip for anybody that might be in a similar situation. Don't tell your wife or your family, at least I'm not going to this location. Because, that's not solidified. So the first deployment, I got orders to Baghdad in 2007. And it wasn't crazy busy in Baghdad at that time. But there was a spot that was on the news all the time, and that was Mosul. And so I told her, I was like, oh, don't worry about it. It is a long deployment. We're slotted for 15 months, but at least I'm not going to Mosul.
And that's right where you went.
Dude, yeah, I was in Baghdad for 2 weeks, and then we got called up to Mosul. So,
what was that like?
Dude, it was pretty gnarly. Because the 2 weeks in Baghdad, we heard stuff kind of going off in the distance occasionally. And then just the flight in to Mosul was totally different. We're on these C-130s. Everybody's loaded in there and not really knowing what to expect. And the plane, it just goes into this straight dive and feels like your stomach's in your mouth. And like, what is this? And they called over and they're like, yeah, we're getting shot at a little bit, so we got a combat dive in. Sorry, guys.
It's so funny. Like, it's not funny, but like you think about on like a regular airplane and the guy's like, oh, there's a little bit of turbulence. Like maybe put your seatbelt on. This dude's like, yeah, in flight, we're, diving because we're getting shot at. It's like such a fucking difference.
Yep. And so me, I don't know. I'm just a goofy dude to begin with. Like, I'm 100% dork, and just if I see a butterfly go by, I'm totally distracted by that. I just think it's cool. So I'm on this plane. I haven't been through this stuff before, and I'm just like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And yeah, you hit the ground running after that.
What was your average day like there?
For me, my average day, it got pretty rough just because there's an element called a QRF, or a quick reaction force. So if there's anything that goes on outside in the sector, they usually respond or they get called up to help out. And that was not who we were. I was part of the security detail for our colonel, but he turned out to be very, very hands-on and did not want to sit back at all. So we essentially became this mobile QRF team. And Mosul being as busy as it was, it meant we got hit a lot. There was quite a lot of the IEDs, the roadside bombs. They love car bombs up there. So that was ultimately what led to my career ending early. Is got a car bomb that ended up catching my truck in 2008. So I still had about a year left. And I was like, man, my back hurts. But it can't be that bad because nobody else in my truck is really messed up. So it'll go away.
So what exactly happened with that? You were driving along and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, it sucks. You're just driving along.
I mean, I heard the story, but I want everyone else to hear it because it was pretty gnarly when you told me.
Yeah. You're just driving along, and we stopped using the regular Humvees that you see everywhere because they just couldn't hold up to these explosions up there. That flat bottom, it doesn't provide a whole lot of protection. So they came out with the vehicle called an MRAP, which was essentially this international dump truck that they changed the back of it into a troop carrier. So there's seats and seat belts back there and basically this armored box. But the undercarriage of this thing was like a V shape. So if you did hit a roadside bomb, it managed to transfer some of the energy away.
Instead of straight into a flat bottom.
Yeah. Yep. So we're driving. There was a couple of checkpoints that were famous for coming into contact. So it was between checkpoint 3 and checkpoint 4. And sorry, I get a little fidgety when I talk about it, but those 2 checkpoints, super busy, and you have to maintain the flow of traffic. So we couldn't just shut the road down. And that's what makes it so hard. You're looking for cars that are slightly different. Maybe they ride a little bit lower or they're going a little bit too fast when they see you. And it's like anywhere else. You drive down the road. If there's a road to your right, you don't see it until you're there and that car just comes through. So we had one that came in, hit the right side of our truck. And so when we're sitting in the back of this thing, you're looking at each other. So your back's to the walls. And just the force of this explosion coming up underneath you, it's pretty unique. The sound of it, it's almost like there's a cap. You can only hear so much of volume before you just don't hear anymore.
Right.
And the whole thing just comes full of dust and any particle inside that truck, it's just floating around. So that one, it knocked me a little bit dumb. So the ramp came down and they were yelling at me to get out. And we had some guys that were in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Some local national people that ended up being hurt. So my job is to go help them out, patch them up, and make sure our guys are okay. So you don't really get a chance to think about how bad you're hurt yourself for a minute. And that's why for me, I was with infantry guys. Even the skinnier dudes, like, they're really tough and they won't complain about things until you're like, dude, come on. You can't roll out today. Just take a minute, let yourself heal up a little bit, and then we can go. So the fact that my back hurt after getting hit by that one, I had to just convince myself it wasn't that bad. But turned out I cracked my L5 vertebrae, and then just destroyed the 3 discs around that. So spent a couple of years trying to get that fixed, and not
you were
get
still
kicked out.
in them, like still in the military, not kicked out yet?
Yeah, because I finished that deployment out. It was just, I was pretty sore all the time. And then we were slotted already to deploy again a year later. So I did as minimal treatment as I could to try to address the problem. After it was my wife. You met her, Kelly. She's pretty
Persuasive.
awesome. Yeah, persuasive is a really good word. I would just walk and fall occasionally. And one time, just walking up my stairs, I ate it so hard. And I was just kind of laughing like, well, that was weird. She was not laughing. And she says, I think there's a problem, dude. You need to go to the doctor, get this checked out. So that was the first time that I realized how messed up my back was. But we were already on the calendar to deploy again. I had no desire to
stop.
To let those guys go and not be there to help them out. So had a couple of minor surgeries to try to get by, went on that deployment. And that one was totally different. We didn't really roll out. Obama had cut back what our mission was over there. And I was more to the south on this one. So totally different. But we would get mortared. We would get rocketed all the time. And, you're on this little outpost. You can't really do anything except find the bunker to go hang out for a minute. And we had one that came, and the rockets started burning this tent down like right away. And I say tent, but they're these weird leftover funky housing units from the British, which was essentially this massive tent that they covered with this fire retardant foam, and some of them had these wooden reinforcements and stuff, just hodgepodge mess, right? And so, they lit up super fast, and I ran across to try to kick in the one side of it because it was our medical tent. We had a surgical team attached to us, and we didn't have accountability for the 2 people in command at that time, and we had to make sure we weren't missing anybody. So
right,
kicked in the side of that one and started hobbling around. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not as athletic as I want to be. That was stupid. And I got evac'd out to Baghdad, get checked out at the hospital there. And they gave me the option to go home or finish that deployment out. And so, of course, I said, yep, I'll stay. And as soon as I got home, I was faced with, I was hurting pretty bad. And they said, hey, you can't be doing this anymore. We've either got to kick you out, or you've got this last ditch surgery where we're just going to screw everything together and see how that heals up. So I was like, cool, don't kick me out. Throw in whatever hardware you need to. And, it was a 30% chance of it actually helping. And luckily for me, dude, that surgery went great. I can't bend or I can't lift the same amount that I used to, but.
So you got a fusion, like a 4, 5 S1, or what did you get? What kind of fusion?
Exactly. Yeah. From 4 to S1, it's all screwed together.
2 levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just said you have a 30% chance. So there's a third of a chance that it gets better, a third of a chance it stays the same, and a third it gets worse.
Yes.
And that's a scary those odds aren't great, but you wanted, it sounds like anyway, you wanted to go so bad, or you didn't want to leave, that you were like, I'm going to do it, and I'll risk it.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's tough.
Because that's the one thing with the military. I think it's universal. Everybody tells you the same. There's just this family element to it that you don't want to leave these guys when you're in charge at all, or like for me being their medic, I know a lot about these dudes. They just talk. So don't want to leave them in a really difficult spot. But
so what happened after the surgery then? Did you stay or did you go back?
No, they gave me about 3 months to monitor how I was healing up. And then we got orders to Afghanistan. So I was trying to heal up as fast as I could because I didn't want my guys going there because it was getting busier and busier. And that part was really difficult because I had a really hard timeline where there was a 2-week training event that I had to go to, and the doctors hadn't quite cleared me to wear all my gear again and do the full routine. But my commander at the time said, no, you got to go. And I did. And while I was out there, that's when our unit doctor was watching, and he's like, dude, you're hurting way too bad. Like, you're done. We got to start the paperwork right now. So when our dudes went to Afghanistan, I was still in the out processing part, and just I could help get them supplies and things from back here, but that was about the extent of it.
Was your pain from this harder physically or mentally?
That's a good question. The physical pain I'd kind of gotten used to from just being dumb and not thinking it's that bad. But the mental part, it was really frustrating because the stuff that you could do, you should be able to do the same. And then the whole idea that there's somebody else going to do your job that you hope they do it as well as you can. And it's just like, man, if anything happens to those guys and I could have been there, that sucks. So, and then, that first deployment was tough with quite a bit going on, and still try to deal with leftovers from that. I think people call it PTSD, but I just call it the new normal.
That feeling when you described this earlier, you were driving down a street and you're looking for pattern recognition, for maybe a fast moving car or a lower car or whatever, just something out of the ordinary, right? Because you're on alert, for your life, really. Do you find yourself still doing that? Like, just when you're driving down the street in Utah, do you ever catch yourself looking for that same sort of pattern?
Yeah, that's honestly the hardest, because a lot of that stuff doesn't really go away. So some people, they say they don't ever think about it, but man, you throw me in a room or a grocery store with a bunch of people and you're just automatically looking at everything. So, but yeah, driving, I've got about an hour commute every morning and after work. So when a semi tire explodes, I jump quite a bit, but yeah, just every once in a while, you kind of have to reassess and be like, you're fine. There's nothing going on over here.
Yeah. Well, you came back. I guess nice thing is that you were from there, right? Like your from Utah.
Yeah.
And then how'd you get involved with the Black Rifle guys?
So that was a pretty coincidental thing. I got out of the military and I had my GI Bill stuff and was like, all right, I'm a little bit older still and I don't have a whole lot of time to waste. I want to be a fishing game cop. And because Utah, you were out here, it's gorgeous. So if I could help keep it that way, that'd be a sweet job. But I went through that whole process. I got the couple of different degrees in zoology, criminal justice, so I could be like the most qualified dude for that job. And at the time, I went through the whole hiring deal. They have all these different tasks that you have to do. So it's like a 9-month ordeal of just these different tests you have to go through, and made it to the end. And they're like, okay, we'll have you come back next Tuesday to pick out your uniforms and get you fitted and everything. We just have one last thing for you to do, which was I was like, okay, I told you guys it from the very beginning. Like I have PTSD listed on my military record stuff, right? And they're like, yeah, but we see you all the time. We know, don't worry about it. So went and took the test, and then they told me, sorry, you weren't selected. And that was about it.
That was the end of it?
Yeah. It was a really dry, informal thing saying didn't make it. So I called to the same lieutenant that I was doing all this train up with. I said, hey, you just got to let me know what was it? And said that during that particular time here in Utah, I was looked at as more of a liability because of the combat experience and having that tag as a mental health issue. So they couldn't hire me on. And so that was another kick in the pants, like on top of all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it forced me to dig through the classifieds, Indeed, any job posting anywhere. And it was on Indeed a week after my rejection from the DNR here that I saw Black Rifle Coffee. And I said, holy cow, I know this company, but they're in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was for a packaging job. And the job description basically said you're making cardboard boxes for our fulfillment center to package everything up. I said, okay, that's fine. I just need to get to work, get my mind straight.
Be with people that know your situation.
Yeah. And honestly, going in at this super base level position, but being able to be around these guys where you've got Evan and Scott and so many other people that run this place that were coming out of special forces groups that had to deal with way more than I did. And just to have this element where you knew you could talk about whatever. And if you're just having a really crappy day, they get it and you can work through it still.
Right.
So yeah, I called in on that particular job posting. I was hired 3 days later, and I was working doing the cardboard box thing for about a month. And that was when the whole conversation about spinning up a print shop came around. And since I was one of the older guys and I had a little more education on my resume than a lot of the other people on that team, they just approached me and said, hey, do you want to try something different? We're starting up a
so
print
you
shop.
didn't you weren't involved in the conversation, they came to you?
Yeah. Yep. They came to me.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah. It was really nice.
And you knew at that point, you didn't know anything about printing, about screen printing t-shirts.
Nope. I had no idea how any of that worked.
So what was there? And they didn't either, I'm assuming? Like nobody knew? They just wanted to bring it in-house?
Yeah, they hired one production manager that he did have experience in printing. And he'd done it for several years already. And then when they hired Caleb to be the printer on the floor, that was when all the pieces started to line up, and then we just had to build a team out. But yeah, it was.
And that was you were tasked with that, so you did the hiring for the team?
Nope. I came on and I was just learning how to print. So if it's a print associate position, whatever your entry position is in your shop, that's what I came in as. But we still had time to build the place out. So I was helping to build and arrange the shop. So it was this weird.
It seems like a cool thing that it's like a company that already exists. That's like, hey, we have the funding and the space and the resources to just build a print shop because we have the need. So you guys as a group are just like, hey, I hear we need this and like research on this and let's get this press and this dryer. And then you're just like, let's figure it out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool.
How long did it take from the time that you said, okay, and you went, you drove to work that day as a screen print, I think you called it assistant or something like that. From that point until you were really up and running confidently, how long did that take?
Oh man, I think before I was really comfortable running the press, it was a good year. Because we didn't have somebody dedicated to the screen room. Everybody just kind of did a little bit of everything.
The cool part about that is that you already had a system in place where you were outsourcing and you're not having customers breathing down your neck of like, we need this has to go out, or you're dealing with it being someone else's job that you're trying to produce. You can kind of just wean yourself into production slowly, right? Like you can just be like, all right, we're going to take on this. We need these shirts, but instead of sending them to this person, we'll just do these, 1,001 color prints.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, guys, design all one color stuff right now. Like that's all you offer. Exactly. Everything has a distress.
Yep. So honestly, when I bring up Printavo and I go back to those initial invoices, yeah, it's exactly that. These simple prints, and then they got more added onto it as we were able to handle more of it.
Yeah, you could do the simple prints in-house, and anything complicated, then still outsource it. Yeah, I guess you could go that strategy even.
Yep. Yeah.
So the thing that I noticed when I was there is that like you have the print shop, but then you have a whole department that is design based for Black Rifle, for like the coffee bags, for the marketing, for all that kind of stuff. So they're feeding you basically bag designs, correct? For a lot of the apparel. I mean, you have your like staples of like the logo and all this other stuff, but they're also doing these like crazy, like, fucking a grizzly bear fighting something.
Yeah.
I have this one that you gave me a long time ago, which is, I'm going to drop a ton of shit pulling this out, which is the Sasquatch riding a great white shark.
Oh yeah, the teamwork one.
So, I mean, it's shit like that. That's awesome. Like it's very like for the brand, but also like you get to turn that stuff into a screen print for the most part, right?
Yeah. And so that's what makes it super fun, because you got these super fucking creative guys that have been locked up in jobs that you weren't really able to let your creative side out. And it's one of the things that I love about Evan. The dude is super transparent with who he is. So if you can get him talking and joking about work for the government, or when he was in the Special Forces group, the things that he would do to let that creative element out, he's able to harness that and just put it into this company. So he's over in our art department all the time to get ideas like that out, where he's like, you know what would be super funny? And they just hash it out, and we end up throwing it on a shirt.
Mm-hmm. One thing we talk about on the show quite a bit, and you guys kind of have a different approach to this too, is just like company culture is massive for you guys. Like that's like your whole everything. Like that's what the brand is based on. That's what the coffee, like everything is like. It's military focused, and you guys have kind of like a goal you're trying to hit. Which did you hit yet? Or Evan had like, I need to hire this many veterans in this period of time.
Yeah, that initial statement in 2017, when he said he wants to hire 10,000 veterans, that's what spawned this whole idea of we have to be more than just e-com. We have to build coffee shops. We have to be able to get this larger element of a company so that we can support that many people and build that community up. So
well, the funny thing is when we were there and we were talking and I was asking you like efficiencies with certain things, I was like, well, why are you doing it this way when you could do it this way? And the reasoning was like, well, that would get rid of 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, we have that there and we have these guys here because we want them to have a job. Like, yeah, we could get rid of that and make it more efficient, but the whole point is to have more jobs for more veterans.
Yeah. So can I tell you for a sec about one really unique aspect to our print shop?
Yeah.
We've got Afghani Special Forces refugees. So essentially Afghani commandos that have worked with us in deployments, and there's long-standing relationships, right? That when things really started to go south in Afghanistan, they were getting hunted down. They knew their families, and once they were able to get their paperwork cleared to come over to the U.S., we had positions for them. And so I have 7 Afghani refugees that work for me right now. And
they were doing the embroidery, right? They were doing a lot of the hat sewing.
Yeah. Our embroidery team is almost, it's 80% of Afghani community. And then I've got a couple of guys that work with me in the print shop. And that's been one of the coolest parts of this whole thing, is it's really humbling when you're having a bad day. And then you talk to one of these guys when they're having a bad day, and they just found out that, a dozen of their family just got killed in Afghanistan, and realize that that stuff's still going on. It's still a mess, but we have a spot to try to help.
Right. They're in a safer, better spot that you guys provided. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. It's just really hard to figure all that out on top of a regular business, because that's kind of what I was thinking is, we have print shops and all this other stuff, and we complain on here about, oh, it's so hard to find work and help and all this other stuff. And it's like, you guys you're for the most part, your hiring pool, you're looking for veterans. You're looking for people that are like you and all this other stuff. How is that? Is there any shortage in that when it comes to the coffee shops and all this other stuff? Or do you guys have a big enough brand now where you probably have your own website of people looking to work for you?
Yeah, which is good and bad. So we've had a fair share of guys that show up to work and they think they're going to be hanging out with Evan, Matt, and JT, and it's all just going to be goofing off and stupid shit. And you're like, no, dude, we have to work and get this product out so that you can continue to see this stuff. So it's a little bit of a reality check for some of the guys that.
Well, that's what I was wondering is, like I said, my shop, we talked about, Andy always jokes like, oh, you don't ever fucking print anything. You're just playing video games or you're, grilling or whatever it is you're doing. But it's like finding the balance of like, yeah, we want to fuck around, but we also like want to get work done and we want to do good quality work too. So like when I went and saw you, it was that, you know, like you go into the print shop and you guys are hanging out, but you're printing and you're getting shit done. And then you go to the art department and it's like, I think when I went in there, they were having a fucking Nerf war. And it's like, but they were still getting the shit done. You know what I mean? Like there was all these boards of like design ideas and things they were doing. And I feel like the hanging out was giving them the good ideas, but it was also, you guys have an archery range out back. You have the gym. There's the fucking Grizzly Forge making knives. Like all that stuff is in that area. And it's like, how do you, is that a problem? I mean, I know we're talking about the great things, but is that an issue with a lot of people there where it's hard to get them to focus on like, hey, we got shit to do? Or like, are they involved with the goofing too much?
Yeah, no, it definitely can be an issue, but it's pretty easy to address. And you just say, hey, it's here, but if we abuse it, it won't be. Because, you know, it's always that one guy that fucks it up for everybody, right? And nobody wants to be that guy.
The hard F on that. I could tell you dealt with it.
Yep.
It was like, I think it was 2 days ago, it was 74 degrees here in St. Louis. And it's supposed to be like 50, you know? And so it was a beautiful day. And I said, hey, you know what? Let's just close at 4:00 today. Get out of here, go home, and so that we can get some of this sunshine and all that kind of stuff. And one person said that they didn't want to leave. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to do, and I don't think we should do that. And then I was like, oh my God, it was like a flashback to school when the teacher said, hey, let's just get out of here. We can leave early. And there's that one kid that raised their hand for another question. You wanted to kill that person. And so I think that you're right. It's, I think it's really important for culture that it can't just be always go, 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 pedal to the metal. We're only working, shut the fuck up, no laughing, no joking. We're just working. And I think that's one of the other things that makes me hesitant and maybe gives me a little anxiety about tracking data. If we're going to see how much or how fast our presses are spinning, and if we're counting how many shirts we print every day and we're trying to hit a quota and that sort of stuff, then does that change the culture? Because I think at a certain point it does. There's just no question that you're going to have burnout at a certain point, and they won't, people won't want to work here. At the same time, it can't just be all goof off. And so you just have to find that balance. And that's, I guess that's your job, or that's the production manager's job, is to make sure that's okay. And I'm the person that's hiring those people. And if they're not performing, or if they're not fitting into the culture, then that's my fault. I hired them. And so we have to either get them on board with what we're doing here, or they've got to go. And, and so those are really, for me anyway, the position, the HR spot, like that position of creating that culture and hiring those people and making sure that all stays in check is the hardest part. I've been practicing for 20 years or whatever and still get it wrong. It's really hard.
I don't think you're ever going to get it right, though. Is the problem.
Yeah, because, dude, if you actually care about people, it's really difficult. And it seems like you hire somebody on, you're investing yourself into them, and to see it not work out, it's really easy to take it personal. And
oh, dude, I'm going through that right now.
Oh, man.
It's just like not to get too into this, because I am in it right now. I don't know how much I should say on camera, but it's one of those things, like, you try to do the best you can for everybody. If somebody comes in with a personal issue, you try to do your best, or you might loan them money or something to like help them get back on their feet, or whatever it is that you're going to do. And then you do something like what we're trying to do here is, like, this year we did a big overhaul on, like, hey, maybe we should get a little more serious when it comes to like employee handbooks and like management, and like, making sure that everybody here is on the same team. And it's less, not that we had a lot of drama, but like, there's things in place where there's less of it, and it's a clear, okay, this person's in charge of this. And like, not every person is like in charge of something. And it's kind of like, we're putting all that in place. And then we kind of did one-on-ones with everybody, and we're like, hey, this is what we're going to do going forward. It's better for everybody. We're trying to make it better for everybody. It's not, we're not singling anybody out. And then you kind of see these couple people that are like bullheaded, or they're just like not on board and whatever else. And it's kind of like, hey, like, this is what we're doing going forward. Like, your opinion on this isn't changing the way this is happening. Like, this is happening with or without you. Like, do you want to help us like grow this company and make it a better place to work? Or do you just want to be a dick? Like, pick one. Yeah. And then when they say, you know, oh, I'd rather be a dick, or I'd rather not stop doing what I'm doing because it's not good for you, it's better for me. It's kind of like, all right, well, you're the first in line to go. Like, if we're laying people off because it's slow or it's winter or whatever, like, you're fucking at the bottom of the list. Like,
or maybe instead of just being first in line to go, they should just go like now.
Well, that's the thing that I'm dealing with right now is me and Bill have been making a decision of like, we know this person, we like this person, but like, they're just being a certain way that it's difficult for us to be like, why should we keep you? Like, it's probably better for us to just be like, let's just pull the weed now. And if a fresh face comes in, we can teach them the new ways. And then there's never a way it was before.
Why are you hanging on to them? Is it because the loyalty, or is it because if they leave,
it's the personal aspect.
Like, do you need them there? They're not. You don't have a replacement, in other words?
It's twofold. Yeah. Like, one, you train the person up for 4 years. Like, they can run the press. Like, they're a good worker for the most part. It's just, there's a couple bad habits where you're like, you know, it'd be better if you didn't do this.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to get rid of that bad habit or whatever. And then it's kind of like, all right, well, I like you. Like, I want to keep you around, but like, can't you just do this thing that we're asking you to do, please? And then they just don't want to do it. And then you're like, well, I guess fuck, like, it sucks, but like, we're not going to have you back. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It just sucks. Cause like you said, you get involved personally. And it's like you were saying, Tyler, like, you don't want to let anybody down. You don't want to let them go. You don't want to not be there for them. But
those are hard decisions, though.
At a certain point, you just got to be like, this is a business and I have to do these things. And sorry.
Yep.
So that leads me into the next thing I want to talk about is you guys had this company that was built a certain way and you kind of goofed and you did everything you were doing, but you're working hard. And then you go public.
Yeah.
What's the dynamic with pre-going public to post-going public as far as like, because I know me and you had talked where you guys had this whole like thing of like another company coming in and trying to like make things as efficient and whatever as possible. How does that affect? Because we've never talked to anybody that has a company that's gone public that, you know, has to deal with all that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we already kind of established that I've had a pretty steep learning curve from coming into the company. So going public just exponentially pushes that out. So I'd never worked with outside consultants before. And prior to going public, we had some coming and helping out with different things. And afterwards, there's more consulting going on. But it kind of made everything hyper focused. So if you look at where we were in 2018, Forbes put out an article and we were super stoked because we'd hit this total worth of $30 million. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome. And then now if you look up what our net value is today and it's 1.7 billion, that's not a long time to
like, it was a very fast incline. Yeah.
Yeah. So each piece of this company has had to get extremely focused on what they do and try to cut out any of the hangups. And that's been the struggle for me in the shop, is exactly what you were saying. There's positions that I know I can just do it differently and it'll go faster, but then my head count goes down. And when you weigh it out, it's not worth it to the team back there. We want to keep those positions and we still want to put out this level of product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the discussion's been mostly for us is what is that benchmark? And if we just keep things at that level, then that's what preserves our culture.
Can't you just shift? So instead of eliminating a position by automating, let's say, can't you still automate and shift that position somewhere else? You know, can you maybe promote, in other words?
In this building where I'm at,
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely difficult because we are totally maxed out. So with our space, with our people, we're utilizing every bit that we can. So if we are looking at swapping out a position, then there's going to be something in the way of that. And we can't really move somebody out. But in the case of like Amanda, my assistant last year,
Extraordinary.
right? Dude,
Mm-hmm.
can't really put an appropriate title on her. She's freaking amazing. She got promoted into project management, put her through that course, and now she's working in our IT department. So that's where we do retain employees, is if we can develop them into other pieces of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of what happened to you. You were fucking folding boxes, and then they were like, "Hey, here's a new part that we made.
Yeah.
Do you want to work here instead? Because like obviously you're more valuable to us than just folding some boxes."
Yeah. And so to that point, I've got a really awesome employee. I love them. I can count on them 100%. I know I'm not going to hold on to them for that long because the rest of the company sees it too. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they can
You got to talk shit about him when he's not around to everybody else. Be like, you think he's smart, but God, like,
Yep, Amanda, piece of shit.
You can't say that about her. She's great.
Yep.
But another thing that you guys do to kind of retain that, I know like you go public and it's like you kind of, I feel like it's this pressure to perform and to whatever, but like another thing that you guys do is great is you do a lot of company retreats.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been super fortunate with that.
Are you feeling like those are just a nice bonus, or it really is helping with keeping everybody kind of like a team building exercise?
And are they really like sincerely fun, or are they like zip line, like trust falls and stuff like that?
No,
like
they look
cheesy?
amazing. They're going like fucking on like hunting trips and shit.
Yeah, so I went on a deer hunt, and it's on one of the most sought after places in Utah, and it's got this massive buck, and the whole team that I was with, we don't really work together on a consistent basis. So to be with them for 3 or 4 days, and you're just kind of screwing around, but you're able to address things outside of the conference calls and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes a huge difference when you get back to work and you know, hey, I can reach out to this person because we know each other better.
Yeah.
And then Evan, being from Idaho, he's tried to get us to appreciate Idaho a little bit more. And so went on this rafting trip down the Middle Fork Salmon River. And there's no way better to get to know somebody than be stuck on this
Trying
raft.
not to drown.
Yep. Bounced around and suffering for a minute, but super fun.
The reason why I bring that up, and the thing is like I'm not taking everybody on fucking like crazy expeditions, but like I've recently, mostly because it's slow, but I've been trying to get everyone here more on board with like, oh, let's go on a road trip for the day to visit some shops or whatever. Normally it's just me because that's like my own thing, and you know I like doing it. But taking, you know, yeah, they're my best friends, like Chris and Brian and Bill, and like we're gonna go on a road trip. And we've been on a million road trips, but like we haven't really been on too many road trips together as a company thing. You know what I mean? Like we're specifically going to look at shops and most of the car ride is talking about stuff about work, whether it's not like we were forced to, but we kind of hash things out of like, this is what we're going to do with this and blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like super, I feel like things over the past couple of weeks, because we've done a couple of these now, are super like falling into place where they were happening before, but now there's like a lot more thought into it necessarily. Like we were doing testing 2 weeks ago with like 305s and, thinning down top colors to a certain degree because we went to see Tony and we were seeing some stuff that he was doing. And we were like, oh, we used to do that and we still do, but like he's doing a couple techniques that like we kind of aren't doing. So let's just do like 4 days of testing and let's test every scenario and like, an old print versus a new print with the new techniques and everything. And then we realized we're like, holy shit, like if we do this way, just a little bit different than we were doing, and maybe the top, the black screen to finish it all off, let's do that on a 305 versus a 230, all these other stuff. Like we're noticing it's like way better. Like the customer might, the funny part about that whole thing, that whole process, side note, is that like you look at the first one, you're like, yeah, the customer would love this. Like this is what we did. The customer loved it anyway, but like they would love this. But then we see all the steps of us trying things to get to the end product where we're like, this is a lot better. You're like, this is way fucking better to us because we're screen printers, but like the customers not like they'll look at it and be like, this is cool, but like they still would have liked the first one. But anyway, like it's stuff like that I'm noticing now that like, we went and visited a couple shops last week and there's just stuff now where we're thinking about organization and manager things. And it's just so cool to like have a team of people at work going somewhere and doing something fun. But while they're there, they're kind of brainstorming how to make work better.
Yep.
And it's just like, that's why I brought that up, is because now I'm like, fuck, like what other trips can we go on? Because I'm like fired up now, like all these things that we're doing and like putting into place. It's like, not that it's been stale here, but I feel like it's been stale as far as like inspiration for a couple of years. Like I go do things and I come back and it's the owner thing of like, I come up with an idea that I saw somewhere else and I go out to them and I say it to them. They're like, oh, sounds good. And as soon as I turn around, come back in the office, they're like, I'm not fucking doing that. But like if they go and they see it, they're like, oh yeah, we should try that. And it's like, now I'm like, I just want to do more and more of it.
Yeah. So dude, it's funny that you brought that up because this past year was the first time that I've been able to go to like impressions and shows like that and actually sit down in class and get some formal instruction on stuff. And that's all that I come back and try to figure out is how do I get my team to be able to go and do the same stuff?
You got to take them. Yeah.
Dude, it would make a world of difference. So that's what we're working out right now is how to get just smaller groups to go on the same things. And
even if it's the managers, you know what I mean? Keep people in key positions to tell other people what to do. It can't always just be you, because then they'd be like, oh, Tyler's got this other fucking bullshit
Right.
idea. Like,
Yep.
like he can't be
never
right
comes
all
to
the
work.
time. Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Andy, do you think about doing anything like that? I mean, we kind of talked about it that you can't really visit too many people around St. Louis because you guys are all fighting for the same nut.
I think that those outings or field trips or whatever you want to call
Well, you
them.
had Kyle in LA.
We did, but I think it's twofold. I think that one should be like going down to a ball game or something like that. That's not work related at all. Just sort of like deer hunting. You know, you're there at this event that has nothing to do with screen printing or t-shirts. You're chilling, you're watching whatever you're doing, and you're bonding. You know, there's that. Okay. I think that's one kind of outing. And then the other kind is, yeah, you're right, going to a trade show or going on a shop tour, because that's going to have different conversations and different kind of bonding. And so I think, and different kind of inspiration. I think both of those are important. We don't do either. We're kind of terrible at both, you know, and so we should do more. I thought about it just recently because I saw Logo Daddy last year, a shop that's here, a friend of ours, and he went to he went to the Cardinals game. He took everybody. And why don't we do that? You know, and even if some people decide, hey, I don't want to go, well, then most did or most will. And so that just gives a chance to get to know each other outside of this shop, you know? And so 100%, I think we should be doing it. And we don't. We have a couple of times before, but just nothing like you're talking about. So really it's, I want to do it. What would you like to do more of, and what would you like to do less of?
Oh man. I would like to do more of these jobs that I haven't done before. So doing stuff like puff print, doing these things that I've heard about and I see it, but I've never had it come through my shop before. But then also that means I have to do less of my tracking, reporting, type of stuff that I'm on the computer a lot. And I don't know about you guys, but that's the hardest part for me is getting time on the presses to try to develop something new.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're scheduled out. We've got 2 presses and they just stay spinning. So it's kind of weird. I would prefer not to do that on the weekends, but that's
caught into your own time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why, like, I mean, that's why it's twofold. It's like you cherish the slow season, the January, February's, because it gives you time to R&D and like get things organized and all this other stuff. But it's also like, there's not a lot of money coming in.
Yeah.
So that's why I said for you in the beginning, like, you don't have that. You have a company that's on this trajectory and you just are trying to keep up.
Yep. Yeah. So the R&D side for me, it's a lot of my own time. And thankfully the art department guys, I mean, they are so vested that they try to figure out all kinds of stuff before it even gets to me. And then it's like this package. Hey, here you go. You just have to do this. I'm like, oh, dude. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
What would you like to do more of and less of, Dylan?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would like to be in the shop more. I would like to do what we've been doing lately. Like I said, taking people on more inspiring trips, finding new techniques, new styles, testing new equipment. We're doing a lot of that stuff right now, and it's super fun and super, fulfilling. And less of, I would like to do less bullshit when it comes to fucking like taxes and bookkeeping and I like putting systems in place. I just am not the guy to figure out a computer program or a CRM, or I just want it to work. So that kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier with those fans. Like, I just want to fucking be like, here's my card. It works. I don't fuck around with it. I can get back to printing and enjoying what we're doing. That's my more or less answer, I think, would be doing the stuff I want to do. And that's the same for everybody, doing the stuff I want to do and not the stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes you're stuck doing stuff you don't want to do and not doing stuff that you want to do. And that's, how do you get out of that pattern or cycle? Because I mean, I'm stuck in that myself, and I'm fully aware of some shit I don't want to do, yet I'm doing it. Like yesterday, I hired one of those Taco Bell guys, by the way. He came in and was fucking great. And so I offered him a job. He said, yes, he's starting on the 20th. And so I had to, though, we changed our PTO policy. So it used to be that you could roll over. I allowed 10 hours of PTO to roll over to the next year, but we changed that. So it's just too hard to track now and accrue the way I've changed our plan in ADP. And so now it's just 0. You got to use it all up. But our employee handbook didn't say that. Our employee handbook still, and I went to print one out to give to him, and it's wrong. And so like, fuck, I got to go, and I had to find the Word file. I had to go in the thing and do the thing, and then and it's like, I hate doing that shit. Like, I want to go on, just like you said, I want to go out on breast, and I don't even care. I want to go to Reclaim. I'd rather go clean fucking screens, than then type that
Change
shit
some
out.
wording. Yeah.
Yeah, like come on. And so, but I'm still. Who else is gonna? Who's gonna?
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do that. And why don't I have somebody? It's my fault that I don't have somebody that I can just say, hey, like open up our that Word doc for our employee handbook and change the PTO to what it should be. Like, why can't I have somebody that I'm sure somebody here is capable of doing that, but they don't. They're doing their thing, So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm stuck in it still.
Yeah. Tyler, I know you're faced with all kinds of weird challenges and stuff with a growing company and all this other stuff, but like, I feel like you have other challenges that only maybe like union shops or something have, where like you're trying to find as many like US based products as possible, correct? Like you want to make sure that what you're using is, mostly here.
Yes.
How has that been as far as?
Dude, COVID can just fuck right off, because that destroyed so much of what we were looking at, and the companies that had US based factories. And then all of a sudden they shut that factory down. You're like, oh, cool. Guess we can't do that one. So yeah, still we rely pretty heavily on the vendors that we know, that we worked with, that we've been out there to visit and see how they do stuff. And our purchasing department. So that's one nice piece. I've got our supply chain group that they handle all of the purchasing. So we just let them know what it is that we're going to need for this amount of time on the calendar. And then someone else is sourcing it out for us.
Mm-hmm.
And they constantly are revisiting our vendors and seeing what new developments come up. How can we get closer to that goal of just being 100% US?
Yeah. And I was debating talking about this or not, but we can delete it out if you don't want to talk about it. But that whole thing with like the 9 line talking about the US and throwing people under the bus kind of without throwing people under the bus.
Yeah. And dude, Tyler Merritt, he's a really awesome guy. And it's to the point where like, I wish I would have known him in the military, because his entire focus would be taking care of that team that he's flying with, because you see it in his company right now. His sole focus is how can he utilize that group to get the best product to continue to give back to
for sure
the people here in the US. And then when he finds out that a certain vendor that he uses isn't fully forthcoming with how they source their material, then he's going to get fired up and
you put him on blast. Yeah.
Yep. So and even that video, I thought it was cool that he still did it, because he couldn't say specifically, this is the group that we're talking about, but he still
he brought awareness to it.
Yes.
Which was cool, because it's kind of keeping people accountable. And I mean, we talk in our industry all the time about, we'd like to have better products. We'd like to have this, and we'd like to not have it coming from here and so on. And it's people like that have the soapbox or whatever to be like, hey, this is a problem.
Yep.
And now I'm seeing it everywhere where it's like, oh shit, like we need to change this or not use them or, get a better product. So it's just kind of forcing people to do better.
Yeah. And for us, being able to know him, I went out to Savannah last year, and he took us in and was showing us all around, and his shop, it's pretty dang cool. It's kind of like the dream shop for what I envision of what we want here. So
are they doing the same kind of thing where they have their own print shop and everything?
Yeah, the 9 line print shop, it's pretty big. They've got a large facility in Savannah that he's got a couple of DTG machines, and a handful of presses, and just that team and their inventory control is super impressive for the square footage that they've got.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you want to hit them up down the road, Tracy, that is their production manager, awesome dude, does some crazy prints that I wish I knew how to do. But yeah, the fact that mission focused mindset, he saw the issue and he's like, yeah, no, we're not going to support that at all, and just put it out there. It was nice to get a heads up from him as soon as he found out where the cotton was being sourced from, so that we could veer away from that ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I don't know, one thing that I'm sure you guys see too in the print community is just how everybody tries to look out for each other and just help everybody's end result be better.
Yeah. Just like I was trying to point out on the show is just kind of like, you guys are a print shop and you are doing the stuff that most of these other print shops that listen are doing, but you have all these other challenges as well. I mean, you have the luxury of like not having customers for the most part. Like, you're your own customer, which is awesome. Like, to me, that's like the best thing ever, because it's like you never have to deal with someone being a dick other than your own crew. But it's also like you said, like, you have to think about all these other things that are happening in the company, and you have to think about, you know, trying to help literally save people's lives, or like have refugees work for you. And then it's like also like, we want to make sure we have ethically sourced materials and all this other stuff. And it's kind of like, it's a whole nother set of challenges that not the normal print shop has to deal with, which is pretty crazy.
Yep. But I don't know. It is cool because some of our older videos where we talked about where we try to get our coffee from is supporting some of these farms that, like in San Salvador, where they've had civil war going on forever. Just the ability to try to benefit people that normally are just dealing with a lot of crap that we don't consider.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's probably the best feeling of working here, knowing that, yeah, we're making shirts. We can do that anywhere. But the profit from our customers that support us can go back and to help these other things going on, because it's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot of weight on some shoulders for a company.
Yeah.
Trying to do all these other things. One other thing I want to touch on before we get to other questions is one thing me and you have talked quite a bit about is you busting at the seams trying to find another place.
Yeah.
Is that dead in the water? Or I know you were finding space in Utah was difficult.
Yeah, it was. And it actually works out really well that it became so difficult to find property, because like I said, this hyper focus of each department right now, it has allowed us to change our forecasting where we can handle this workload just kind of spread out further.
Right.
So that we aren't having to rely on what we don't have. So it's meant changing some things up. So that whole floor plan that we had developed and we're looking at putting in a different building is going to be on hold for a while, but it's so we can focus that revenue into other aspects that do need more growth right now.
Yeah.
And when you know that, like, it's like,
okay. So it's kind of better that it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you guys had equipment in crates.
Yeah.
Like just waiting. Do you still have any equipment in crates, or is it all in now?
We've actually been able to swap some of that stuff out and just better utilize our floor that we've got. Mm-hmm. And then
it was funny because you had all this shit already when it was like shortages for equipment.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I was like, cool, I have to wait a year for my press. And you have one sitting right there in a pallet. Like,
yep.
Just ship that shit over to me.
right? No, watching all of that and knowing that I had a press sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, I am scared to sell it right now because
You make
if that
double your
decision's
money
made, yeah, but that's not very nice either. Yeah, it's just been weird. When the gauntlet went down, it was awesome to be able to just go out and get that other press and stand it up right away. But yeah, we're got a couple more.
Oh,
things.
this press went down. I guess go grab the one we have in a box out back.
We should all have that, right?
Yep,
I do that with like our pressure washer, our power washer. You know, we have a spare one just sitting there ready if we ever need it. I mean, there's certain things you can do it with, but a press, that's awesome. Hey, are you a dad?
I am. I've got 2 boys.
Okay. I would like to share, maybe we all could share a proud dad moment because I had one just recently. And so I was at home on the couch laying down with my lumbar support because my back hurts. And then
you should complain to Tyler about how your back hurts.
No, because it would be embarrassing. His story versus like me sneezing or something is how I got. But my back legit it hurts, and I know a lot about the spine right now. So when you were telling your story about it, it's real. And for me anyway, it really resonated, and I hit rock bottom a few weeks ago, and I was depressed, and I never have been depressed in my life. Like, it's just, I wake up, I'm ready to go, happy, and that's just kind of my personality. But I was depressed because I was facing the reality of not being able to even print another shirt ever again. You know, that's how bad I was, how much pain I was in. And so mentally it got to me too. And I just couldn't sleep. And then I just fell apart, you know. Yep. But I was laying there on the couch, and my phone starts ringing, and my kid's FaceTiming me. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I answer, and he's at his shop, and he had knocked a hole in this wall because he's expanding. And he had the scaffolding, and he had just like painted and put in this new drywalling. He was mounting a light fixture and all this shit. And I looked at it, and it was amazing. Like, it was professional. Like, this kid did all this, you know. Not only is he a production manager and can do anything in a screen printing shop, but he now all of a sudden he's just building out this space, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, wow, that's my kid, you know. Like, there's no way I could do what he was doing. And I was really proud. And so, and honestly, I wanted to like get in my car right then, because he was there at night. It was after. So he's working during the day. Not only does he do that during the day, but this was at night. He had gone back there, you know, to work on the building part of it. And like, huge respect for that. Just the, you know, like a 15-hour day or whatever it was. I wanted to jump in my car, drive over there, and just fucking help him. But I couldn't, like, even because it hurt at that point it was a few weeks ago. I couldn't even drive like in a car. It hurt so bad. I couldn't sit, you know. And so I was incredibly frustrated because I just wanted to be there and, you know, like help him out. But I was proud he was doing that. So that's my proud dad moment. You guys got one?
Tyler, you got one at the ready?
I do. It's kind of similar. So I've got a 16-year-old that he's done with his first year of college already. And the kid is just crazy smart. He's always just been able to pick stuff up like nothing. And so that by itself, I'm in awe of this kid all the time. But just recently when we were in Long Beach, that was honestly some of the worst pain I've ever had in my life, because I had this massive kidney stone, and I've never had those before. And this stupid thing, it just put me down for 7 weeks, and I ended up having 3 different surgeries just to get the stupid thing out. And going through that, he just took care of stuff around the house that I normally would. And he's got his own job, and I gave him the biggest hug when he came home and told me one day he just went in to pick up his paycheck. He wasn't scheduled to work, but he saw how busy they were, and he's like, "Hey, I can help you out for a while." So he just jumped in and he's helping his team out for a few hours on his day off. And when he told me that, I was like, dang it, man, that
single tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to teach that, but it's what you hope for.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
And kind of similar, my younger kid, he's 12 and he's playing hockey right now. And I was a little dickhead when I played hockey as a kid, just to let you know. We would have fights afterwards and it just wasn't great. But for him, he took a dirty hit like about a week and a half ago. This kid just bounced his head right off the wall and he was visibly ticked off, and he just kind of separated himself on the bench, and he didn't retaliate at all against this kid. He was able to keep it together and not just pounce on him like.
Isn't that the point in hockey? Aren't you supposed to fucking throw down?
See, it would have been understandable. Everybody would say,
but the thing is I feel like it's twofold, because you would have been proud if he whipped his gloves off, helmet, and beat the piss out of this kid. And you would also be proud if he had a moment of zen on the bench and, you know, kind of figured it out. So,
yep. But yeah,
there's two sides of that coin, I think.
Yeah. For me, being able to just not instantly get ticked off and respond in that way, it means a lot, because that's hard. As soon as you're like, all right, I'm going to kill this dude, that's a hard switch to flip off.
Yeah, I think as an adult, you want to be able to handle it civilly, you know, as an adult, you know. I mean, there's times, of course, to defend yourself, right? Obviously, but there's also times to not be a hothead. And so I'd be proud. I know what you're saying. Yeah. I'd be proud of it too.
Yep.
You guys are talking about this like inspiring things that your kids are doing. The whole time when I was thinking about things that I'm proud of my kids for is the polar opposite. Like, my kids are 10 and 12, and I am so proud of them when their shit talk game is like super good, or it's something I didn't think of right away. Like, if we're in a situation and like normally I have this like, I feel like that's one thing that I have that I've always had is this like instant like witty comeback for something, or like throwing a dirty joke in or something. And like my kids have it too.
Shit talk to you or shit talk to other kids?
Both. To me, other kids, to themselves. And it's fucking amazing. Like, it's so good to watch. Like, you know, my daughter is like the best at coming up with some comeback to my son. Like, we were in the grocery store the other day and she was just coming up with these names for him, and they were fucking so perfect. Like, I couldn't have think of them. Grayson he was more shocked of what she came up with. And to me, I'm just like, this is the best thing ever. Like, the tradition lives on. Yep. So that's my proud dad moment, is just like my kid's ability to talk shit.
See, I was going to go there, but I wasn't sure how Kelly would feel about it. But a perfectly timed, that's what she said, coming from your kid. You're like, oh, dude.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It could be anything like that, where it's just like, I look at them instantly and it's just like a hard high five, or like, I'll like audibly like a fuck yeah. I'm like, it's so good. It's so good.
Yep.
I like it. I agree.
Let's do some listener questions. There's a couple.
Okay.
My Print Shop Live asks, is it all you can drink coffee?
Aha. Yes. That's one very nice perk about working here. Probably has nothing to do with my kidney stone, how much caffeine I drink, I'm sure. But yeah, we've got the retail shop up front where our customers come in and they get their coffee, and we can do the same on our breaks. And then we've also got the bagged coffee that we do get every month for being employees here. So yeah,
Are you guys getting the coffee of the month bundles yourselves?
Yeah. We sign up for whichever one that it is. So I've got the AK espresso that comes to my house every month, and
that's awesome.
It's pretty nice.
How do I get on payroll? Do I have to first enlist?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to do your 4 years minimum.
Okay.
And then you can get some coffee for free.
Yeah. Totally worth it.
Yeah. Raised on it asks, what apparel trends have you should we look out for in 2023 in the outdoor apparel space? Do you get involved with that much? Is like what the newest trend in your market is, as far as, I mean, I know you guys do a lot of t-shirts, but like, are you thinking of other things? I know you guys had a kind of collab with Dixon with the flannel. Yeah. Is there other stuff that you guys look into as far as maybe like backpacks or certain things?
Oh yeah. So we're friends with Eberly Stock. And so we've done some of their smaller backpacks that's co-branded. And we're always looking at outdoor stuff, whether it's the bags or the outerwear, anything that translates from that picturesque view of you're out camping, you've got your coffee by the fire, and how else can we make you more comfortable while you're doing that?
When's the Black Rifle coffee maker come out, or the Black Rifle on the trail kit for making coffee come out?
So we've got the small little pour over that's like the backpacker's version. The actual coffee maker, I just hear rumors of that every now and again. So haven't seen that one as of yet.
Because I got to get this fucking Keurig out of here. I got to get a Black Rifle version at the shop. So
I'll let you know when I see it come up, man.
Okay. All right, cool.
But yeah, we do have a pretty awesome product development team.
Yeah.
That's their focus. Whereas me, it's just like, okay,
what
get stuff printed and out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A person near and dear to our hearts here, Amanda says, Bear Sheets 8, the only colorblind print production manager I know. Does this affect your work? Why or why not?
It only affects my work when she gives me shit for it. No, I have to.
But it's got to be a real issue to a degree, because I think even Tony I talked to, he said that he ended up with 2 different people in charge over his years that have been colorblind, and they're like, they go to pick a color and they're like, this is this, and they're like, no, it's not. Like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? Like, do you actually run into that at work as like an issue?
Oh yeah, all the time. So I get super pissed off. Like, if you want to ruin my day, get the Pantone numbers out of order and start putting them by colors. Because I will look through that damn thing all day trying to find a Pantone number, and I can't. So, and then talking to our art team, they're like, yeah, we like this Pantone, but can you make it a little more pink, or can you make it more green?
You mean like another shade of gray, or?
So everybody knows by now that that's just a horrible question for me. And so I'll just stand there and I'm like, I know some people that can do that. I'll just relay what
I'll bring them over here to have you tell them again.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, you're running a print shop. So, I mean, you can delegate that task of proofing colors to somebody else.
Yeah. But dude, when I was on press, because if you're hurrying to mix your ink and you don't cover up your recipe or your mixing instructions, and it wipes that Pantone number off, that would ruin my day. Because when we're all done with the job and I've got my ink containers and we're emptying the screens back into them, I'm like, son of a bitch, I've got 3 browns and I don't know which is which. So tell me what to do.
That's a funny problem that not that many people have to deal with.
Yeah, not in printing.
Yeah.
But since that was Amanda, it's her birthday today. If you
Really?
wanna throw shit her way.
Are we singing some happy birthday for Amanda?
I don't know.
Chad, play the music. We don't have to sing. Just play it so we don't have to do it.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, she's fun.
Happy birthday.
Do you have any questions for us, or do you have any of your own little shop hacks that you guys have done?
Yeah, they go together. So the shop hack that I've got is we have 2 roller screens that we like to use when we're dealing with fleece. So we'll roll it before anything gets printed on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we roll it again when that underlayer has been printed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's helped our designs out a ton on fleece. And also like putting a little bit of the adhesive on the back of that screen to get some of the lint off.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking of that, do either of you guys utilize the rollers versus like a hothead?
Andy, you swear by the roller, right?
So we have a roller on every press, just one. Although we do sometimes, like you said, with fleece, we'll end up rolling twice, because with fleece, we always spin twice. Most of the time we're spinning twice.
Yeah.
Because we want to preheat the fleece also, not just roll it.
Yeah.
We don't have a hothead anymore, but we do have a super secret beta situation.
Oh man.
And so does Dylan.
Yeah.
And it may
Have you played around with yours yet?
Fuck, I can't get it hooked. Like electrically, I'm still waiting on my.
We've been playing with it all week, and we've modded it already. We've switched it around. We've fucking done a bunch of stuff to it.
Okay.
Hard thumbs up.
Your shop's not burnt down, so that's right off the bat a good cue.
Nope.
Yeah,
it's been great. I'm excited.
Yeah, so that's what we're probably going to move to. I just don't know yet, so we have to get it. I'll know. Call me in 30 days.
Okay. But yeah, when you had the hothead, was it beneficial enough to where if this new secret squirrel, whatever it is that you got right now, weren't there, would you still be utilizing the hothead?
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a hothead on every press, and we use it all the time. Like, we still use it to this day. I don't want to knock the hothead because it is good. It's just, it's a tool that has some limitations, in my opinion. So, like, if you're running t-shirts all day long, fuck yeah, run the hothead all day, no issues. If you are starting to get into fleece material or something off of the beaten path of a t-shirt, something thicker or whatever, it tends to drag a little bit. So you're actually, because the hothead comes down and then goes across.
Yeah.
So that motion of it going across is sometimes pulling the material of the garment to where you'll have registration issues.
Oh, okay.
So, usually a t-shirt's so thin and stuck to the pallet, you're not really having that many issues. It makes the print look better. You're good. Again, same with like the fleece, we like to do that first spin, which is the pre-shrink under the flash, and then we'll hothead it to mat down the fibers, and then the next spin is the print, and then you're going to have a nicer print. So it is good. It's just moving to more of a, an iron or a stamp or something where it's straight down and straight back up. That's where you're getting rid of that travel. So I think if you don't have one, I would research into that instead, some kind of iron. Okay. That's what I would suggest. And there's other benefits to it too, where, it can actually take the place of a flash, and so on. So there's different options. Like I said, we still like the hothead. It's just one of those things where I was trying to, as an owner, eliminate that variable of, we can use it on this, but we can't use it on this.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to find something that works on everything.
Yep.
And I think with a roller, you get pretty close to the results of the hothead. You can achieve what you're trying to do with a roller.
Yeah. The roller's great. The only thing is it's not heated.
No, but if you're right after a flash, it is. It's still pretty hot.
Yeah,
you know
it's pliable. So, I'm just saying the hotheads, the bonus with the hothead is that you were getting consistent heat regardless of what your flash temp was or whatever. Like every time it comes down, it's at whatever it was set at, like, 280 or something.
Yeah.
So it was always at 280 every time, regardless of flash or pallet temp or whatever. So
this may not apply to you, Tyler, but if you're on a budget and you want to get some better prints and some nice results, get a roller. It's very easy. You don't have to run power to it or anything like that. There also the learning curve on it is, I don't know, you could in one day or an hour or whatever, you
put it in and say go. Yeah.
Yeah. With the hothead, man, we fucked with that for way too long before we said, let's just throw in the towel. And I mean, I think that we probably could have got it, to closer to where we needed to be. But then it's a whole matter of training every single press and figuring out when to use it and when not. And then we just decided to move on, So anyway.
Oh, that's perfect because it's production time. The more you got to do that.
Keep using it. Quick takes?
Yes. Quick takes. I think I know the answer to this, but maybe they'll throw a curveball at us. How do you start your day?
Oh man, turning the coffee pot on.
He's got one of those like hamster water bottles next to his bed where it's got the little ball where it's just coffee and he just leans over and.
Yeah, but I can't do it too early because I've got an hour drive and I don't want to be pulling over.
And you got that sweet baller car though too.
Yeah.
You should put a coffee machine in that.
Oh my gosh. But
he's like considering it.
Yeah. How do I do?
It would be awesome because I've got this 92 Oldsmobile Tornado and inside of it is like this old school cockpit where everything's digital and just funky. So a coffee pot's not too out of the realm to have in there.
Just get like one of those like hot plates, like you made the coffee at home, but then you just have the whole pot that you set on a hot plate in your car. And then you could just refill your coffee mug from it.
Yeah, that's not going to spill or anything. He'll be fine.
No, it'll be all right. Don't take any hard corners. Xbox, PlayStation, PC, or are video games lame?
Oh, I'm going to get kicked for this one, I'm sure, but Xbox.
No, you're on your team.
You're on Dylan's team.
You're on my team. We're fine.
Okay.
We're all good.
Dude, I suck at it, and my kids just annihilate me and laugh. But the worst is like Call of Duty, right? Like, weren't you in the military? Like, shut the fuck up.
It's not the same.
See, your kids are talking shit too. You got to be proud of that.
Yeah, I am. But when it's a little personal, I got to cry sometimes.
A little bit.
Night in or night out?
Ooh, night in. I'm trying to get out more often because Kelly's hysterical. That woman, she's a social butterfly and gets along with everyone. And I can't be that hermit that
keeps her in.
Yeah. Not fair.
Shout out to her too, by the way. You should check out her stuff was she mostly on TikTok or Instagram?
Yeah. Her TikTok's getting busier, but IG is most of her not crazy, but her interesting makeup looks and stuff.
Yeah, she's doing really cool like what is it called there? Just like not really cosplays, but she's doing like characters and stuff.
Yeah, she's an incredible makeup artist. So
yeah.
Again, hey, dude, this one bites me in the butt since we talked about colorblind. She'll try a different color of eyeshadow or something, and she'll say, okay, well, I'm ready to go. What do you think? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then her jaw drops. She's like, really? You don't think this is ugly or weird? What are you talking about? So
I can't see that shit anyway.
Yep. Then she remembers, you're colorblind. Never mind. So
you can't tell. Just always say it looks good no matter what it really is anyway.
Yeah.
Something random that brings you joy.
My animals. I am a huge animal person. I taught 7th and 8th grade science for a while. And like I said, getting distracted by butterflies and just looking at random stuff. Our world is so freaking cool if we get some time to actually check it out and experience it. So yeah, any chance I get. And that was, here's a dumb story for you if we got a second.
Mm-hmm.
Being in Iraq, there's different animals over there. And so I automatically focus on that, and we're doing raids and kicking indoors and stuff. But I see this
and you're like, ooh, lizard.
Exactly. See this huge monitor lizard in a canal, and I'm on my way to go check it out. And then we start getting shot at, and like, Doc, come on. And I'm pissed because I want to find out what this lizard is. I haven't seen it before. So yeah, I've just got tons of random pictures of the little animals. And my favorite one was, do we got time for?
Yeah. Say.
Okay. We're heading down south outside of the city, and you get into these smaller farming communities. And we hit an IED on the way down. It took out one of our Iraqi counterpart vehicles, and everybody's a little bit more high strung before we get to our final stop. And we're meeting with one of these sheikhs, the super influential dude of that area. And we finally get there, but on the way, we're getting this call that there were 5 vehicles parked, and they all took off before we were like a couple of miles away. So we're aware something's fishy, right? Everybody's leaving. We pull up, and everybody else goes into the house. I'm hanging out with a couple of the guys doing outer security, and I look down, and have you guys seen that movie Body of Lies with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Mm-hmm.
It felt a lot like that, where these guys are trying to get off the grid, and so they're leaving little cues for each other. There was this scrawl in the dirt that turned out to be a phone number. So I took a picture of it, called the interpreter over so he could check it out, and we sent that phone number up to our intel team while we were going. And then the rest of the time, while they were in the house, they figured out there's probably weapons cache hanging out. Timmy Briggs, this dude was a beast, and I just always tried to keep up with him and not let him know I was actually kind of scared when we were doing stuff. But it was like a farming area. So we're going through this field, and we're literally poking at dirt and kicking it, looking for bombs. And I was
like, is that something you want to be doing, is poking and kicking when you're looking for bombs?
You're going to find them.
It's the best way to find one.
As long as it's not like a triggered mine, you're pretty good. And that was for the most part. They would pre-manufacture these fucking things that were huge. And if you found them, then you could essentially get rid of a dozen or so that are going to be planted later.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just poking around trying to find that stuff, hoping it's not a trap. And that's kind of the hope every day anyway. So I try not to think about it. But while kicking around, this dirt looked a little bit funkier, like moss. So I lean over and I'm checking it out, and I pick it up, and it was a fucking hedgehog. So immediately
and you just picked it up?
Yeah. Yeah. I turned into this freaking 4-year-old, and I'm like, dude, I got a hedgehog, and trying to figure out which pocket I can empty and put him in. And he was my buddy for a minute. But that's what kept my sanity through a lot of that stuff. Was
What did he do? Did he like curl up in a ball, or did he like take a shit in your hand? I mean, what did it do? Did it get scared?
He was curled up. Like I dug him up and he was asleep, I guess. And so he was still super lazy, but I brushed him off and got to see his cute little face.
Put him in your pocket.
No, I ultimately Briggs was like, dude, you're an idiot. Just get rid of that.
And then you tossed it into the field and the mine went off and you exploded it into a million pieces.
Yeah. Turned out to be Sonic.
That's what's like, not to bring this story down, but that's what's crazy to me to think about is you kind of distance yourself when you think of stuff like this. Cause you think of movies, you think of video games or whatever. And like, oh, they're just military. Like it's just a target. Or like you said, you're playing Call of Duty or something. And you see like another guy and you're like, oh, it's just, I have to like shoot that or whatever. And then you think about like, these are real ass people. Like some other bad guy could have been looking at you and been like, oh, here's this like enemy of mine. And you're fucking petting a hedgehog. You know what I mean? Like you're just a real person thinking about, oh, I like pets.
Yep.
Like that's what's crazy to me is just to think about these are just real people with real feelings and real other hobbies and everything else. And it's like, you're over there doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
So
and that one, dude,
good for you, man.
I'll always remember it because that phone number turned into a direct tie to a massive car bomb that they were getting ready to go plant.
So you stopped it.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Hedgehog was awesome.
I love that we heard that story. All right, Andy, who's next? Me or you? Oh,
I have got this one favorite childhood memory.
Oh, favorite childhood memory. My childhood was pretty awesome because my brothers and my sister, they're super cool, and I was the youngest, so they'd always spoil me. Well, yeah, but they'd spoil me and just bring me along to hang out with their friends. But I think my favorite one, this is dumb, but I shattered my nose when I was younger on my friend's trampoline. And I say it's my favorite just because it was the first time I saw the reaction of a lot of different people when someone was hurt.
When someone breaks their nose?
Yeah, because I told my friend, don't bounce me, dude. I'm going to try this new flip. So he bounces me. And I ended up just the bar of the trampoline hitting me square on the teeth under my nose.
It's the worst.
But it was cool because now, like, I can get hit in the nose. I don't have anything really left in here.
It's extra squishy.
Yeah. But then I never had to get braces because it smashed it all together.
Perfect.
So,
it's a lot cheaper.
Right? Mm-hmm. Dude, win-win all the way.
Mm-hmm. I have this jacked up tooth on my bottom teeth that's all sunk in, and it's because I got elbowed in the mouth. And it just knocked it back and stayed there.
At a show?
No. I feel like I was at a party and someone was just throwing elbows and I got caught in the mouth.
Man.
Yeah. I wish I had a cooler story, but that's pretty much what it is. Anything that you're reading, watching, or listening to right now that you really like?
Yes. I rewatched The Terminal List on Amazon
really
Prime.
Good. You see they're making a second one?
Yes.
Ooh.
I am super stoked for that to come out.
Yeah.
And then so the next book in that series is coming out the first part of May. So if you get into Jack Carr's Terminal List series, getting stoked for that one. Yeah.
Nice. Andy, finish her off.
All right, Tyler, what's for dinner?
Ooh, I was excited for this one. I just smoked pork loin yesterday.
I thought he was going to say he smoked something else.
Yeah. He's like, I just smoked a J and I'm like really hungry.
Can't do that during the week. But no, smoke that pork loin. So I'm going to cut it up super fine and do fajitas tonight.
Dude, hell yeah. Sounds amazing. I don't know what I'm having. I gotta figure out something to make. But that sounds really good.
What am I gonna have? I don't know.
Chili.
There's I wish I don't have the stuff for it, or maybe I do, but don't have the time. There's two places just opened up, brand new, right by the shop. Of course, it's a Qdoba, which is really good, but and then this place we do t-shirts for called High Point, but I don't know if we can get in. You know what I mean? Because when a place opens and it's just too fucking crowded for a while, that's kind of what's going on down there. But I don't know. They have killer burgers though.
We were just talking about this yesterday because there's a customer of ours that is like my favorite Italian restaurant near here. It's like really, really good. They like home make everything. And she was coming in for a meeting yesterday, and then Sarah was talking to me about her or whatever. And I was like, just tell her that whatever her next order is, I'll just trade the whole order from meatballs. It's like, just like the whole bill, just have her bring me trays of meatballs. That's all I want.
That's amazing.
It's a fair trade.
Yeah. If they're good meatballs, yeah.
They're actually called meat logs, which is funny because I've never seen that anywhere else. But when they cook them, they're like in like log form.
Oh, it's not
so they're called meat logs on the menu. It's not a ball; it's a log.
Dang.
So yeah, Tyler, thanks for coming on. We wanted to have you on forever ago, and the time that I was about to have you on, fucking Printavo had you on. So then we had to push you way out so that we weren't putting you on blast twice in a row. But I
love how you said,
I love you, man.
Printavo.
I can't wait. Fucking Printavo. I can't wait to hang out again. I'm hoping this year I can get out and we can finish that hike that we didn't finish last time.
Oh, dude. Yep. And we won't get rained on.
And we won't get rained on. But miss you. Hope to see you again. Do you know when the next show you're going to is?
I'm starting to book Fort Worth.
Okay.
So that's the only one I know for sure. I want to get down to Made Lab for one of theirs. But there's not anything far enough out right now.
Be good to get the crew to come.
Yes.
Yeah, and Dylan and I, we know Fort Worth. We were there, I don't know,
many
200 times. Yeah. Last year,
too many times.
Jeez.
Yeah, we've got some spots, so we'll go hang.
Okay.
Well, thanks, dude. Sweet. We'll chat with you later. Appreciate you.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for putting everything out, man.
Yeah.
It's helped us a ton.
Thanks, dude. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Thanks, Tyler.
Bye.
Later, man.